reports describe something that looks like an acorn. One witness even says the object looks like a bell. Stan Gordon is a local investigator and expert on the Kecksburg incident.
It's approximately 10 to 12 feet or more in length, about 8 to 10 feet in diameter, but it's one solid piece of metal, kind of an unusual off-gold, bronze, copper color.
The object has one other highly distinctive feature.
On the bottom, one witness called it the bumper area, the raised up area of the acorn. There's these unusual markings that raised up off of that surface.
At the crash site in the woods, the Kecksburg residents soon find they've outstayed their welcome.
They're not there very long when two men in trench coats come down out of the woods very stern, and they tell them, get out of the area, this area is now quarantined. And he said, right behind these men are soldiers coming down, military people.
Eyewitnesses later report seeing the object on a military vehicle speeding out of town. Where were they taking it? Stan Gordon thinks it went to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, 250 miles west in Ohio. According to Gordon, just 2 days after the Kecksburg incident, the base makes an unusual request for ceramic bricks from a local foundry.
They ordered a large supply, 6,500s, of a special type of brick. It was double glazed engineer brick. And that order was to be sent to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
The delivery truck driver, Myron, later gives an interview where he claims he saw a bell-shaped object in a hangar.
When I walked in the building and seen the bell shape there and they was working on it, one to do with this brick is to enclose it. They was going to entomb it.
But why ceramic bricks? Ceramic is used for electrical and heat insulation. Was the Air Force trying to somehow shield the object? Could its physical similarity to the Nazi bell be more than just a coincidence? And could the ceramic bricks provide a further link between the two objects? The Kecksburg craft was reportedly encased in ceramic bricks. According to Polish aerospace journalist Igor Witkowski, the Nazi bell was also shielded by a ceramic casing. Witkowski thinks the bell was tested here, at a mysterious structure in Poland called the henge.
The henge itself stands in a pool of water, and the pool itself was covered with ceramic tiles.
The Nazi bell had another reported feature: distinctive markings.
The Nazis had this bizarre religious science, which included a lot of occultism, and they used occult symbols. And the bell was supposedly covered in occult symbols.
The raised up area of the acorn. There's these unusual markings.
The evidence is compelling, but circumstantial. Both the bell and the Kecksburg craft needed ceramic. Physically, they appear similar, and both display unusual symbols. The question is, if the Kecksburg object was a Nazi bell, how did it end up in America 20 years later? To answer that question, it's necessary to go back to Germany and the end of World War II. In April 1945, Hitler orders the deaths of 62 scientists working on the Bell Project. Concentration camp prisoners working on the secret underground projects are also executed. These mass killings are overseen by the SS general in charge of Hitler's secret weapons projects, Dr. Hans Kammler.
The entrances to the tunnels were blown up, and all the prisoners of the concentration camps, which knew something, anything about the production or the purpose, was closed inside, and so the mystery of this undertaking was sealed off effectively.
Hitler trusts Kammler to wipe out any traces of the Nazis' secret projects. But what the Fuhrer doesn't know is that Kammler is getting ready to turn sides. In 1981, Hitler's former Minister of Armaments and War, Albert Speer, confessed that Kammler had told him he was planning to take all his secrets to the Americans in return for immunity. Did Kammler change sides? In April 1945, the man who had access to the Horten flying wing, who'd overseen von Ohain's jet revolution, von Braun's ballistic missiles, Schauberger's saucer, and the mysterious Bell, leaves his base in Pilsen and vanishes forever.
We actually don't know what happened to Hans Kammler at the end of the war. He has just disappeared. No body has been found.
6 different reports of his death were recorded. At the Nuremberg trials, he was barely mentioned, even though he had been directly responsible for the destruction of the Warsaw Ghetto and designing ovens at Auschwitz. Other SS officers that were dead or missing were tried in their absence. Why not Kammler? Was it an oversight by the Allies, or did Kammler make good on his plan to hand over his secrets to the United States?
Kammler would have been a trump card, for example, for the Russians or for the Americans as such an expert.
If he did go to America, he joined a roll call of Germany's most brilliant minds. Under a secret program called Operation Paperclip, the U.S. military swept up and transported Nazi engineers and scientists back to the States.
The American public knew about a few of the paperclip Nazis. Werner von Braun was the poster child for the program. Most people who had heard of Project Paperclip or bringing the Nazi scientists to the U.S. Figured it was only a few hundred of them.
Declassified documents held at the National Archives indicate the actual number of scientists was in the thousands. Von Ohain, Germany's jet pioneer, went to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Alexander Lippisch, an expert in vertical takeoff, went to White Sands, New Mexico. With them came prototypes, like the Horten brothers' flying wing, and a mountain of documents. By 1946, Nazi Germany had been stripped bare. 1 year later, with Nazi scientists settled all over America, the first wave of UFO sightings begins.
Do you think that looks about like what it was, Jay? About what we saw right there.
Is it a coincidence? Or does a closer investigation of the most famous UFO sighting at Roswell, New Mexico, reveal a new and very dark secret? June 1947. Kenneth Arnold, a 42-year-old pilot, makes the first widely reported UFO sighting in the United States. Flying over Washington State, he sees a formation of crescent-shaped craft displaying unusual flight characteristics. Dr. Bruce Maccabee is an optical physicist who has investigated the Arnold case.
There were no wings. He could see no wings, no engines, no vertical stabilizers or anything that was normal, but he assumed it was some sort of a new aircraft.
Arnold's description of their movement results in the first use of the term flying saucer. Just 2 weeks later, America experiences the most famous UFO event of all time. July 1947, an object crashes near Roswell Army Airfield in New Mexico. After investigating the crash site, the Air Force puts out a sensational press release.
The Roswell Army Air Base issued a press release saying that they had a flying saucer that had crashed in the desert.
Just a few hours after the initial press release, the Air Force did a 180, telling the press that the crashed object was a weather balloon, an innocent mistake, or deliberate misinformation.
From the beginning, they had something they did not want the public to know.
If they weren't hiding a crashed alien spacecraft at Roswell, what were they hiding? Does further investigation reveal a link to captured Nazi technology?
For me, the most compelling link between the Roswell event and the Nazis is the shape of the aircraft. The aircraft apparently was a flying wing, and it's well established the Nazis were working on a flying wing.
The Roswell crash happened within flying distance of White Sands, the Air Force base where the Horton brothers' Nazi flying wing was first taken. Roswell was just 2 weeks after Kenneth Arnold had seen the world's first widely reported UFO. Is this what the Air Force was trying to cover up? An American-built flying wing prototype based on Nazi technology.